Hello viewers, me and team here. Welcome back to Let's Play Dark Souls. In the last part we took out Qualag and Lower Blighttown, so now we are running down towards the depths. Yes, and I explained why in the previous video. But basically this makes it a little bit easier because we can get a +10 weapon sooner. The large ember is down here. And since I'm going to bother going down anyway, I'm just going to take out the gaping dragon as well. You could, in theory, just kill the Capra demon and grab the large ember. So, if you're looking to get through the game more quickly, that might be the way to go. But the gaping dragon is an easy fight, pretty much no matter when you fight him. As long as you have a +5 weapon, that's a cakewalk. So, okay, I'm going to take a detour here for a couple of things. First of all, I want this bonfire because it's one of the more convenient ones to attack the depths. Not the depths, the lower Undead Burg. Although, certainly you could run from Firelink using once you've opened the shortcut to the lower Undead Burg from Firelink. That is also a viable option for making this run. So it just depends what you want to do. I think that's probably the best way to go because you only have to encounter like 4 enemies en route that really matter to you. You can just run past all the hollows in Firelink Shrine. Whereas if you try to run from this point without fighting anything, you can get trapped and killed. It's much more possible for that to happen. So here I'm picking up the bow, a bunch of arrows. Tons of arrows. You know, that's not a large price to pay, a couple thousand souls for the ability to cause sounds in places. Basically, it's like having oral decoy. Man, I wish oral decoy were more useful. It's like a directed oral decoy that you can use without binoculars for a 0.5 equip rate. You can get things to look away or whatever by shooting an arrow near them. It makes a sound and they go and check it out. Or you can pull things to you so you can fight things one by one. But the main reason I'm picking up the bow, and you can even use the bow without the requirements, is for Beta Chaos. Yeah, that'll make that fight a lot easier. So I might as well pick it up now. You know, it's right near me, and it lets me get the bottomless box as well. And I also have the residence key, so I can save the magician dude down here. So just run by all the noise into the lower Undead Burg. This area gave me a little bit of trouble my first time playing too. I think most areas give most people trouble their first time playing. Aside from like the very starting ones maybe. But, man, what am I doing? Where are you swinging? But when you're down here, poise can help a lot. A lot of the enemies here, like if you can get staggered by the dogs, you really have to time your attacks perfectly because they'll stagger you then jump to the side. Brilliant. And that sucks, man. That really sucks. I guess you can kick them, block them, and then kick them, and that'll give you some opening to attack. And obviously things like rapiers and spears where you can block with your shield and attack at the same time. That makes the dogs trivial to deal with as well. Man. I do not like that their fire bypasses poise. I think that's stupid. I think if my character is capable of taking an ultra great sword smash or like an ultra great hammer smash, he should probably be able to handle some dudes with fire on the end of their stick. Jeez. Whatever. Fortunately, in addition to the poise, I have enough armor to survive that even though I'm at base vitality. So we're good. Tip I learned from Emerald here. Great YouTuber. Much more skillful runs than me. So if you're looking to see how to win the game with skill, well, I would recommend checking out his channel because he's doing like Soul Level 1 stuff on New Game +7. But you can hit enemies through the doors. And that's pretty handy on any new game. Because then they can't ambush you because you killed them before they could attack you. Regardless, these guys with a combination of poise and a weapon that can one-shot them, really not too challenging. I'm pretty level appropriate for this area, I would say. So it's not like I'm going to be struggling a great deal here. And yeah, they can't really block that very effectively. I guess they could parry me or something, but Unfortunately, dead angles don't work so well in PvE. PvE calculates shield blocking angles differently from online multiplayer. Online multiplayer only uses the direction your player and the enemy player are facing as a reference, whereas this is less sticky. It actually does use directions. Man, I got caught there by the dogs. The dogs are a big problem on this, and I was starting to worry I was dead, and probably should have been dead, but I got that heal off in time. And I have the poise to take hits, so roll out of that attack and get the heck away from the Capra Demon. The Capra Demon would be pathetically easy if not for these friggin' dogs. With them, especially if you don't have any poise, it can be a problem because the dogs will stagger you and the Capra Demon will hit for a lot of damage. So if you're in here with base vitality without a lot of poise, you are probably going to either roll through attacks and have a pretty close to flawless run, or you're going to die because you'll get stunned and then followed up and killed. But now that the dogs are gone, this fight is pretty well under control and is not that challenging any longer. Especially because that kind of stuff can stagger him. Two-handed Zwei R2s stagger a surprising number of stuff. He actually didn't hit me there only because I staggered him. Most other weapons, that would not have worked. And there again, I interrupted his attack. And obviously killing him is always going to interrupt his attack. But that's a big deal. And it can make a lot of fights easier, especially since two-handed R2 hits really hard. And I actually derped a bit here. I didn't realize how quickly you need to turn after getting out of that boss fight. So that's one fight out of the way. Now we just need to go grab a couple things. Yep. Rote memorization for the win. Just attack something you can't even see. Absolutely. Most areas in this game you can easily win on your first try if you're careful. But you can just run through them super fast without difficulty once you know where everything is, because well, you know where everything is. I wouldn't mind like a more randomized spawn location type of thing if they kept it within fairgrounds. Or I don't know, maybe have a covenant that allows people to mess with each other so it isn't even necessarily random. There's a lot of ways you could do that. We'll see what they do in Dark Souls 2. I'm so happy that's been announced. Haha, run around! Pro mode! Not really. But, pretty seamless fight against him, even though I almost took a hit there. Pick up the large ember. I do want to go the route behind the butcher there. Yeah, the blacksmith. But, I want to save Laurentius of the Great Swamp, the Pyromancer, first. Yeah, you take a wild guess what I'm saving my souls to get. Although this will not be a very Pyromancy heavy run, viewers. But I do want to get the glove, and I do want to upgrade it enough where I can pick up things from Quilana. Essentially, my reason for doing this, and for getting it now, is so that I can go into New Game Plus with Fire Tempest, Power Within, and an Ascended Flame plus 5. That's really the... plus having it is handy. There are some instances where Pyromancy is very useful to have available. And since I'm really not going to be statting up things like Faith or Intelligence, well, Pyromancy is your next best bet. So if I can go the right direction, that would be nice. And pull this guy out of a barrel. Why don't you just hit B, dude? Well, whatever. Yeah. Save him. He's the easiest way to get your hands on Pyromancy.
Thank you. I'm doing. Oh, no.
Although technically I could have avoided him. It is possible to get an Ascended Flame without him. First of all, you can start as a Pyromancer and then use... Well, the trick to that is using the Egg Burdens with the Fair Lady there and the Chaos Servants. If you get like eggs on your head and meet certain requirements, I think he'll offer you a Pyromancy glove, and he'll sell some Pyromancy himself, but he can upgrade your glove. I think you can upgrade your glove even if he doesn't offer you one. So if you start as a Pyromancer, you can just upgrade that. And then once you get a glove plus 10, you can see Quilana. But yeah, that's the easy way to deal with the rat. And this is by far the easiest way through the depths. Most people know this run already, but might as well show it. So yeah, you plunging attack the rat, pick up the spider shield because the spider shield will block poison attacks. If I'd had that fighting, I could have gone and killed the lower Blight Town toxic dart guys without too much worry of being poisoned, but I didn't have it, so I didn't get that Firekeeper soul yet. I will be back for that Firekeeper soul. But yeah, if you slide down and stay along the left there, you can open the shortcut back to this area of the depths pretty easily. And now you could, instead of coming back up here, just go straight to the Gaping Dragon. But if you do that, it's going to make life a bit more miserable. Anyway, let's bust out the... Oh, come on now, that didn't hit that. Yeah. This way that rat can't surprise attack me out of there. Yeah, if you run straight to the Gaping Dragon, you're going to run afoul of the Channeler, both buffing the Gaping Dragon and shooting at you the whole time. Now, buffing the Gaping Dragon is no big deal, because it's pathetically easy as a boss fight. But the other aspect of it is more problematic. Take a pot shot at the rat here. The bow is just handy. I did not mean to do that. Even if you don't upgrade it at all, the bow has some utility. And if you start with the stats to use it, you might as well pick it up. Man, there's some disconnect between where the game says your shot's going to go and where it goes. I would like to see better bow play in the Souls games. Although I know that risks making the games trivial, because the bow... But look at this. Like, I'm shooting at the same spot, and sometimes it's hitting nothing. It's hitting the floor, and sometimes it actually hits the guy. It's just silly. But yeah, I know Demon Souls is trivialized by abuses of the bow. So there's some balance to be had there. But at the same time, like, having a bow that can be aimed a bit more reliably would be useful. Especially because, like, the bow will drift right. Your arrows will drift right. And while it's different from bow to bow, that always happens. I think it would, like, the arrow drop is nice and realistic, but I would like to see a better representation of where it's actually going. And yes, it's hard to shoot a bow, I know, but it's hard to use all these weapons the way these guys are using them in the game, you know? It's like you can switch weapons and instantly use something with a reasonable amount of skill, actually a very high amount of skill, in terms of what the character can physically do with the weapon right away without any, like, acclamation whatsoever. So it's not that much of a reach to have somebody be a nearly perfect archer or like a high tier archer. And at that point you have a relative idea of where you're aiming. It's not like you mess with your other weapons, so I don't see any reason you should mess with the bow. That's a minor point though. Bow play in this game is really solid in PvE anyway. It's just not very viable in PvP most of the time. It has its place, I guess. I just think it could use a slight tweak in favor of it being more viable. But I'm not a big bow guy in PvP, so I don't really care too much. Alright, so here's one of the very few times you'll see me deliberately skip summoning. And my reason for that is, as helpful as Solaire can be in other boss fights, I don't think he's too useful in this one. Anytime you have an NPC summon, the boss has more hit points, and it's harder to kill as a result. Now, Gaping Dragon has a boatload of hit points already, so I don't want to give it more. It's not hard to fight one-on-one, so I don't really need Solaire for that reason, to like distract something. And also, you can loop the Gaping Dragon, his AI, into making stupid attacks by keeping a certain distance. In other words, he will do that face pounding into the ground that you're about to see here, and then walk forward. But if Solaire is distracting him, he won't do that. He'll instead attack Solaire by stomping, by doing tail whips and other stuff. And for all of this, Solaire himself just doesn't do that much damage to the Gaping Dragon. Especially not to merit the hit point increase. And it just makes the whole fight take longer, I think. Or at least make it more tiresome. Whereas with this, oh, I'm just baiting him to slam the ground again. Smack the head a few times, run out of the way. It's really not that difficult of a fight then. Just the way I like it. But this is one of the easier boss fights anyway. Maybe not as easy as if you hit the timing or rhythm necessary to permanently stunlock Qulag or something. And it probably isn't as easy as the Moonlight Butterfly with which Beatrice summoned, because with that one you can just stand there. But of all the fights that you can fight alone, this one might be the easiest. He just doesn't do a whole lot. Now, if you leave the Channer alive, it's different. Then this can actually be a hard fight because you have to be moving all the time. And how is that not a hit? My weapon traveled through him. Give me a break. But yeah, with the Channeler, it's a little more tricky because you have to move to dodge him all the time. But without that, no problems at all. I didn't even need to use the bonfire here. Nor did I want to, because I wanted to be able to warp out of this area and continue on with the game relatively easily. And because of what I did, I get to go to the Sunlight Altar. That'll save some time. Oh, no, that's right. I wound up in the Undead Burg instead. Never mind. Now, unfortunately, this means I didn't open up the shortcut from the lower Undead Burg to Firelink, but I don't think that's that big of a deal. I'll reopen it up off-screen much later in the game when I decide that I need it. But it's not that important. I could have gone through the... If I didn't want to pick up a whole bunch of Homeward Bones, I probably wouldn't have opened it anyway. But just noting that, like, if you do want to make sure that... If you want to open that, then just open it before heading down into the depths, but then don't use the bonfire. And you can otherwise copy what I just did, and you'll have the shortcut open then. It's not that big of a deal. Alright, down we go. One of the things I should mention here, and I might have had questions about it by now because I'm pre-recording all these videos. How am I running and turning the screen? Well, I'm putting my pointer finger on B and using my right thumb on the analog stick. That allows me to both sprint and turn the camera. And you can use your middle finger on the R1 button and R2 button to take care of that. In other words, to actually attack. It's uncomfortable to use all the time, so I don't use it all the time, but when I'm running from area to area, or like running to get into an engagement in multiplayer, then I will often use it. I don't know if that's what's called clawing or if it's something else, but that's the general idea. Here I'm going to take a couple points in attunement, or maybe I would have. Yeah, well, I will soon enough. I guess I wanted to see how much I needed to upgrade the Pyromancy Flame first.
Well, so you made it.
You cannot see Quilana guaranteed. In other words, there's not a way to see her for sure without getting a Pyromancy Flame plus 10. I've heard there are other ways to get her to appear, but I don't know what they are, and they certainly have not been proven consistent. So this way is consistent. She will always appear if you get a Pyromancy Flame plus 10 and go down to where she is in Blight Town before killing the Beta Chaos.
Goodbye. Come back if you find any.
And yeah. He doesn't sell a whole lot that's useful. Iron Flesh can be alright, but people can pretty much incessantly poke you or use ranged on you if you're using it, and that can be problematic. So I'm not a huge Iron Flesh fan. But I do pick up Combustion, because that does have a little bit of utility. And his other spells, Flash Sweat is really good against other Pyromancers, or against fire attacks that you're going to eat. But unfortunately, even in the Demon Ruins area, a lot of enemies, like say the Demon Fire Sage, he should be using fire type attacks on you. He's the Demon Fire Sage. But no, those are magic attacks. And a lot of the lightning attacks, like the attacks of the enemies in Sen's Fortress, where I'm about to go, there too. Those are magic attacks, and that's kind of annoying. So you don't really need lightning or fire resist nearly as much as it would appear you need them, because a lot of attacks in the game that look like they're elemental are actually just magic elemental instead of being lightning or fire elemental. And so Flash Sweat's utility is very limited. I think Ceaseless Discharge's attacks actually are fire-based, but you saw how difficult a battle that was when you fight that way. So then what else use fire attacks? Well, some random enemies. Running through the lava against the centipede demon, maybe. Maybe if you're going to take a hit from the firestorms against Beta Chaos, you might want to be using it. But ideally, you're not going to get hit by any of those things, and you usually won't get hit by most of them other than the lava. So there's just not a lot of incentive to use that spell. It's not that expensive though, so you can buy it just for that. It's not a big deal. But I didn't want to spend souls on it, and I never use it in PvP, so it's just not worth the attunement slot. That's its issue, more so than anything else. So okay, I have the large ember, and so that'll let me get started on upgrading my Zwei to +10.
I could. Why not?
And that's a pretty useful thing to have. I won't be able to get all the way to +10 at first, but with a weaponsmith box, or just walking to the giant blacksmith leader with some souls and the large titanite shards, that'll let me get to pretty solid damage for the upcoming areas. And yes, that amazing chest ahead thing is pretty annoying. Apparently we have some female Dark Souls players in the crowd as well. I shouldn't make assumptions, but probably. Who am I kidding? There are no girls on the internet. Ha ha. Guy in real life. Okay, so off to Sen's Fortress. In my previous run of this, I had a perfect run. We'll see if I can duplicate that. Because there's a lot of ways where if you don't play perfectly, you die. That's how Sen's Fortress is. A lot of areas where you can fall to your death. A lot of areas where you can get stuck by enemies if you're trying to run past them instead of fighting them, and basically gang killed. Quite a few pitfalls in Sen's Fortress, figuratively and literally. And am I in human form? I think I might still be. Yeah, because I don't think I've died since killing Quelaag with Maneater Mildred. So I could even be invaded, potentially. And that would just add yet another fun element. Now the only thing about this is that only very low level invaders can invade me, because I'm actually pretty low level myself. A lot of people are much higher level by Sen's Fortress, or at least significantly higher. So I do have that advantage. Here I get unlucky. The snakehead thing doesn't usually come down after you, especially while the rocks are falling. But because it chased me, it puts me in a bit of a bind, and it limits my options. But we're gonna try and Zwei stunlock it. And fortunately I caught the other lizard man with the Zwei, and that prevented him from hitting me. And then there's yet another one! No! Lots of poise, so I tanked that hit. And you're seeing just how good this Zwei is, man. You know, it's barely over +5 now, and it's still causing grief. What am I doing? Oh, I guess I went for the Shotel. Not sure if I'm ever going to use the Shotel, but it is nice to have. It's the only weapon in the game that ignores shields by design if you use its R2. And he blocked me, unfortunately, but I can still get him. Owned. Look at that stagger. Be afraid.
Forgive me. I am quite honest.
This guy's cool.
For a ball, I'm afraid. So here I sit, weighing my...
Alright. So on we go. This is another way you can fight a lot of enemies, even as the game goes on. Just pancake them. And then when they get up, well, pancake them again. They never get to move. Kind of cheap, but most enemies don't really block your R2s very well. And a lot of enemies either get pancaked or staggered by your R2s, so you can just R2 back away, R2 back away. This way is a very good PvE weapon, and pretty solid in PvP too, if you fight unlocked in dead angle. It's kind of a jerk move, but it's powerful. Avoid that. And alright, here's the part where you have 3 options, although I'm mid-rolling, so I only have 2 options. You can just run to the top right away after that boulder, and if you perfectly time it, you can skip all this stuff. But if you want the items, then you gotta come down for them. And on a regular new game, it's probably worth it to pick up the items. Whatever. You got a sorcery, which I don't have the intelligence to use in the game, and probably won't, with the black sorcerer stuff. But more importantly, if you go down, there's 2 pretty useful things to pick up in the first new game. And one item that's useful pretty well forever being the gold serpent ring, which boosts your item discovery. So I'll just let the boulder get out of the way here. Roll down and chase it. This is pretty easy even if you're slow rolling, so don't worry about that. And I think I showed this in my first playthrough, I'm definitely showing it now. You can Lloyd Talisman any mimic and take its item, even if you don't kill it. And it will not eat you. And I thought somebody got eaten by the treasure chest, so I looked at the bloodstain to see if that's what happened, but it isn't what happened. Instead, they just ran off the elevator while the elevator wasn't there and fell to their deaths. So, whatever. I hear that you can actually farm mimics with Lloyd's talismans for the symbol of avarice. In other words, the helmet that looks like a frickin' mimic. You can just put that on your head and run around with a mimic head. And it actually does boost your soul intake, so it's a worthy thing to have. It also boosts item discovery, but with 10 humanity and the gold serpent ring, you also maxed out your item discovery anyway, so... Discovery, anyway. So you don't really need to wear the symbol of avarice while item farming, but it can be useful if you go soul farming. Now I've found that soul farming in this game, compared to just going into New Game Plus, isn't that useful. So either you mule, in other words, you download like some third-party save file and put that on your system, or you just run through the game and beat the game and pick up whatever you want. Because once you're in New Game Plus, getting the souls to reach SL 100 or 120 really isn't that hard. Just beating the game with the silver serpent ring is really strong. Go ahead and take out this guy quickly. Now unfortunately this always aggroes the serpent man down there, so you'll have to deal with him. I think if you've hidden body or like the right kind of ring, you don't have to worry about it. The ring of fog. But I don't have either of those things, so we're just going to pancake him a few times. Miss. Oh god. He misses though, so we're still good. We're still good. Piece of cake. And yes, with a crossbow, you will do enough knockback to knock this lizard creature off the ledge there and kill it. But the knockback is working differently on this short bow, and I'm just pushing it into the hallway, unfortunately. And eventually I'm like, you know what, screw it. I have top tier poise, basically, so I can take a couple hits from that sucker anyway. Nothing to worry about there. And then I realized the thing is not moving and shooting the wall anyway. So let's just run past the last of the swing traps and get through the lower part of Sen's Fortress. Very grateful that I didn't die. That's one of the most frustrating places to die in the game. You have to run through all of Sen's Fortress again. Although if you just literally run through it, it doesn't take that long. It's still annoying. Because remember, a lot of the time that I used up there was collecting items. If I didn't pick up the lightning spear or the silver serpent ring, if I didn't drop down for the show towel and talk to Zigmeyer there, or Sigmeyer, I would have made it through this area much more quickly. So it only takes a couple minutes to run Sen's Fortress and fight the Iron Golem. Or run Sen's Fortress to that bonfire at least. But it's nice to not have to do that, to just run through the area without dying. Always a plus. Kind of amusing that I died en route to like the Moonlight Butterfly, but I didn't die even once running the lower part of Sens. I've died to stupid crap only so far this playthrough. We'll see how long that holds up. But yeah, I'm taking a detour here to get the cage key. I like to get it just in case I want to come up and buy green blossoms. It's probably more useful to do this in a New Game Plus than it is in regular New Game, because then you'll have the souls to buy maxed green blossoms very easily. And what those do is just make your stamina recovery better. In fact, the green blossoms are pretty much as good as all the stamina recovery items put together. Unfortunately, I think the stamina recovery items... No, I shouldn't say it that way. I think the green blossoms are too effective at what they do. And then they're constantly used in multiplayer, and they really do damage the trade-off between wearing stamina impeding gear and not. Stamina is a very important thing to this game, and having everybody just regenerate stamina after using it with so much ease that they don't have to worry about getting their guard broken, I think that takes away from the multiplayer experience. I think there's a lot of skill in managing stamina when you don't have it regenerating so quickly that it's less of a concern. But, you know, we'll play with the game as it's given to us, I guess. I mean, a lot of people don't like backstab fishing, and I don't really have a problem with that, so whatever. I actually, well, I don't like getting backstabbed or parried, but I don't have a problem with them as tactics, we'll put it that way. And I'll use them, and I don't get too mad when they happen to me, with the exception of very laggy situations. But laggy situations piss me off regardless. You know, someone can kill me by hitting me where I wasn't, or hitting me before I was blocking, even though on their screen they weren't even attacking yet, or, you know, I roll out of the way and I get hit by dark beads after completing the roll because they hit me before I rolled. But on my screen, I was like already completed the roll, so they literally shot nothing and hit me. You know, that kind of stuff is annoying, but that's pretty rare. So, and that's also not really by design. The lag kind of screws you. And I've played against people who obviously got screwed by lag too. And there's not a whole lot to say about it. It's unfortunate that it exists, but everyone has to deal with it. And that sucks. Fortunately, Dark Souls 2 will have dedicated servers. And I actually ran away from this guy because I thought he was going to get up, but he didn't get up. And I think this way staggering him has, like, delays him standing back up. Because normally that giant will not stay there that long. Out of the way, Tarkus. Yeah, Tarkus makes the fight against Iron Golem really easy. You can definitely just use the lightning spear and poke the Golem in the knee a few times and kind of nonchalantly fight, but the heavy lifting will be done by Iron Tarkus. And I like his armor, by the way, it's cool. His shield isn't very impressive in terms of the amount of strength you need to wield it and its stability versus its weight. I think several other shields are better choices among the great shields, but, you know, it's solid. But his great sword is basically like his way, only a little bit worse. They do the same damage, but the great sword is heavier. And while it does get a useful stabbing attack that gets boosted by the Leo range to connect, it's slow and it's not sweeping, so it's very easy to punish it. Ouch. I guess having giant iron golem things stomp on you would hurt a fair amount. And yes, there we go. Staggered. Ah, so close to getting it to fall to its death. But we've done so much damage to the thing now that it doesn't really matter. It's not getting back up. So yes, a flawless run through Sen's Fortress. Excellent. Makes up for some of my earlier failings to some degree. It's always nice. So back to Anne Orlando in part 3. Rather than, what was I on? I don't even know. But yeah, we're getting through this much more quickly. And I would argue just as easily, if not more so. And we also got to skip a very painful fight against the Hydra that I had to accelerate a lot. So that's useful. And we're pretty much coming up to the end of the video here. We're going to be braving Anne Orlando and its archers without hidden body this time. But that's for next part. For this part, we are done. So I hope you've been enjoying the series, viewers. I'll go ahead and say the me and team signing off. See you next time.